Airwick Essential Mist Diffuser transforms your space, creating your perfect ambiance with a wide range of inviting fragrances that make your guests go... Oh. Airwick Essential Mist Diffuser's easy-to-change refills allow you to choose your perfect fragrance for any occasion, like lush honeysuckle and raspberry, and vibrant island coconut and warm sands. And if guests start shifting from the table to the couches, no worries. It's perfectly portable and cordless. Airwick Essential Mist Diffuser, always inviting.
Pacifico is a Mexican lager brewed to be discovered. It's like fresh tracks on a powder day. Like that uncharted trail a stone's throw away. Like the perfect wave on a sunny day. Pacifico, find your own way. 21 plus, drink responsibly. Imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois.
Oh, well, hello there for the second time this week. Ladies, gentlemen, fanatics of all ages, welcome to Phillies Therapy, recording late at night here on Wednesday, July the 30th, because the Phillies have made a big move, a big splinking move. I'm going to say that word as many times as I can to annoy my co-host. The Phillies traded for Minnesota Twins relief pitcher Jhoan Duran, who is one of my favorite pitchers in the entire sport. So I am feeling good. But to do so, to acquire Duran in his 2.5 years of club control, the Phillies surrendered starting pitcher Mick Abel and 18-year-old catching prospect Eduardo Tait, who carries a lot of power potential in his bat. It is a huge move and one of a series of moves across the sport today here on trade deadline eve. Ke'Bryan Hayes and his rather large contract went to the Cincinnati Reds. The Mets picked up Ryan Helsley and Tyler Rogers for bullpen help. The Angels picked up Andrew Chafin and Luis Garcia, old friend. Seattle Mariners did a very smart thing, in my opinion, picked up Caleb Ferguson from the Pirates. Atlanta needs people to pitch innings, anybody at all, so they traded for Tyler Kinley, and the Yankees traded for Austin Slater for their outfield help. Meanwhile, Ronald Acuna went back on the injured list with some Achilles soreness. Matt, it was a busy day. It was a rain-delayed day. The Phillies lost the series against the White Sox, which normally would annoy me a lot more, but who cares? The Phillies got the best reliever on the market. That is my opinion and probably one shared by a lot of people. Even as the Mets made their own bullpen moves, picked up Ryan Helsley on a rental and picked up Tyler Rogers, who has a very deceptive submarine delivery to bolster their bullpen. The Phillies made a huge move, and they did not have to surrender one of their top 3 guys. They are now presumably done with bullpen work, absent something falling into their lap. And here we are entering the final day of this deadline season with the bullpen looking a whole heck of a lot better. So let me welcome you in. The Athletics, Philadelphia Phillies beat reporter, Matt Gelb, wet and drenched from a rainstorm in Chicago. Hi, Matt.
I just scheduled my lift for 3:45 a.m.
Oof, it's beautiful.
I don't know where I am right now. I have no idea where I am. I'm in some hotel room that's like 30 minutes from O'Hare. Lollapalooza begins Thursday in Chicago, and there were a lot of canceled flights at O'Hare, and yours truly scrambling for a new flight and a hotel room, and I'm glad I did because the Phillies made their biggest deadline trade under Dave Dombrowski during that. Well, not shortly after the rain delay, but they kind of came. It all came together sort of during the 3-hour and 35-minute rain delay, and it is the biggest swing at a deadline they've taken under Dombrowski. I think it's an interesting move for a lot of reasons, but I don't know if there's that much analysis to it because it's a pretty straightforward one. It is a quintessential Dombrowski business. I think is that he was the guy they liked. I think the price they paid was a lot, but I think fair. And I think most of the reactions I've gotten from other clubs has been just that they believe that this was a fair trade and even slightly favorable, they think, to the Phillies. I think there was a little bit of surprise that the Phillies pulled it off without, Miller or Escobar. I think internally the Phillies had Escobar over Tait. I think externally you probably could poll 20 different executives, and you'd probably have it, not executives, but 20 different teams,
Sure.
and however they rate players, it's probably close to a split in terms of who's better than the other, Escobar or Tait. But they kept the guys they wanted to keep, and I think that it was a steep cost because you don't see top 100 prospects traded. And I know they didn't have to trade their best guys, but they still traded a pretty good one. This is a good chip in Eduardo Tait that they traded, but they got a closer back, and for the first time, really, in Rob Thompson's time as manager, I think you can say they have a closer with a capital C, and I think there are a lot of ramifications to come from that, and that's some of the stuff we can talk about.
Yeah, Jhoan Duran, if you're not familiar with his game, and he's coming from an AL Central team, and for me at least personally, how foreign that division can seem sometimes. But I have had my eye on this guy for years, basically since he debuted, and Do Hyung Park, late of the MLB.com beat, who now I think works for StatCast, started talking about him. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. What's this guy do? And I watched him. I'm like, oh, that's what he does. And to give you a verbal overview of what Jhoan Duran does, not only does he average a tick over 100 miles an hour with his four-seam fastball, even as it's slipped a little bit over the last couple of years.
And we can talk. This guy, this is not a full. This is not a perfect believer here. I mean, there's some things we can get into, and I think there's some things certainly that are worth paying attention to.
Yeah. So he averages just over 100 on his fastball. Averages over 100. That's nice and all, but the main attraction is a truly unique pitch, something he throws that no other pitcher in this sport really throws, and that is a 98-mile-an-hour splitter. When he came up, it was nicknamed the Splinker because it moves both with splitter and sinker movement at a two-seam velocity. It is truly, to watch this pitch, it is one of the nastiest single pitches that anybody in this sport throws, and I will stamp that authoritatively. He also throws a couple breaking balls, which are no slouches on their own right. This is a guy who has the offerings. He's got the juice. He's got the stuff. More than that, he gets swing and miss with it. He gets chase. He gets the punchies. Top all of that off with the fact that this year, and really since he's been in the league, he gets huge ground ball rates. This year, he's running a 64% ground ball rate, which is a little bit above his career average, but not that far above. He is a machine. Now, I'm not saying this guy is going to be prime Eric Gagne, and Matt, you alluded to this. There are some risks. Sure, he's a reliever, traded a lot for a relief pitcher. So why don't we start with, I guess, what you could call the bad news, or maybe the pitfalls, or the things to at least be a little bit cautious about, because while the marquee is bright and shining and there are plenty of lights, it's a very attractive thing to look at. There are some things to at least keep in mind while we look at somebody like this. There are some yellow flags, we'll call them, around this deal. Not too many, but at least some to be aware of. And Matt, the first one we mentioned was the fastball velocity, which has slipped a bit since his debut in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, it is lower this year than it's been before. I think it's averaging 100.3, which sounds insane for it to be a career low, and it is. But I think where you've seen it manifest is that, one, yes, he's throwing that splinker, and I guess, am I going to have to call it that? I guess I have to call it that, right?
We can say splitter.
He's throwing the splinker more than he's throwing the traditional four-seamer fastballs here, and he hasn't done that in previous years. So obviously, like, he thinks the fastball is not, or at least the Twins thought that the fastball is not as effective this year, and certainly the velocity, the diminished velocity, hasn't helped. He's had a declining strikeout rate every season in his career, and it's like 25.7% this year, which ranks 62nd among 169 qualified relievers.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also given up a career low, OPS against this year, 546. He gets righties and lefties out both at about the same clip. In fact, he's quite good against lefties. So there are some unknowns. Like, we discussed this on a recent episode, where when you're acquiring a closer or late inning reliever from a smaller market team, or from a team that hasn't had huge expectations, from a team that isn't really all or nothing, you do really, there's an unknown to, how that guy will react and handle the pressure of pitching in Philadelphia in the ninth inning in October. All of that. Now, he has pitched in the playoffs, of course, and he's actually pitched quite well in the playoffs in the past, but this will be different. This will be different. So there are some questions about the stuff, and he's on pace for career high innings this year. The Twins rode him pretty hard this year.
They worked him hard. They did.
Yeah. So I mean, there are some things to just keep an eye on, I think, and I'm curious to see. And I didn't have enough time to get to people after the game today to see, maybe, and I'm sure they haven't even thought much about this, but like what they might what they might do with him. There might be a few tweaks, probably not too many tweaks because he's quite good, but I mean, this is a guy who turns 28 next January. You have him for 2 more years after this. You solved a now problem, and you solved a later problem as well. And I think there's a lot of value in that, even with all those red flags that I kind of just went over.
Yeah, there's certainly, it gives you pause, when you give up some of your bigger names for a relief pitcher. I know it comes down to really philosophical differences about how to approach valuing relievers and their extra years of control. And that's probably something we get to at an entirely different point when it's not 11:30 or 10:30 Central at night. There is some of that in play. Absolutely. But what the Phillies are getting is what they tried to get with Garrett Crochet last year, that additional playoff run tacked onto these years of control here for a unit that really needed this kind of profile. It is a little bit difficult to look at some of the trends with his numbers and say, oh, okay, that's probably something to monitor there. The K percentage has slipped each of his 4 years he's been up here. But like you said, the results are still good. The batted ball data is still very good. He gets a lot of ground balls, even when, hitters do make contact here. And on top of all of that, personally, while nothing is infallible and perfect, if you're going to have a guy who throws what he throws with the, like every reliever, the potential to get hurt at some point, especially if you're throwing with the octane that Duran throws with, it's nice to bring him into the Phillies medical situation, because there's no other staff in the league right now. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, so we'll say roughly.
They definitely have the fewest pitchers on the they have the fewest pitchers on the injured list right now.
Yeah,
I mean, I know that's an inexact way of measuring it, but yes,
right. So they keep guys on the field, and for what that's worth, despite being worked pretty hard, and the Twins have worked him pretty hard, I like the odds, the chances of bringing him into this environment and keeping him on the field, keeping him, in the position to take the mound in opportunities where the Phillies need him to close out a game. I like the fit. I like the price. Like you said, it's steep but appropriate. The Phillies did not have to. They weren't going to give up Painter. They didn't have to give up Miller Crawford.
Right, and like it does get them out of this cycle, I guess, for now, of having to, give up prospects to get a rental reliever every year. And I'm sure this time next year we'll be talking about them needing to get a reliever, but we won't be talking about them getting a closer, ostensibly, if Duran is effective and healthy. So, it was a price to pay, and I think it's a deal that I don't think that they thought was going to happen until like probably Wednesday morning. And I have a story up on The Athletic that I just posted a little while ago, actually, while we were talking. That kind of goes into how it came together and why this was the time for them to do something like this. And this, it tracks with a lot of the reporting that I had published to The Athletic earlier this month, probably about 3 weeks ago, that they were telling teams that like they were interested in shopping in the more expensive aisles this year. Like they were not just looking at a rental, and they wanted to get a guy like Jhoan Duran. And like that was like one of the guys that they really liked 3 weeks ago. And they just, at the beginning of this week, they didn't think that he was going to get traded. And I think even Wednesday morning, they weren't really sure that like the Twins are being serious, because they really hadn't moved off of Andrew Painter. Right. And like, that was not a non-starter for the Phillies. It was a non-starter when the A's asked him about Andrew Painter for Mason Miller, and I reported that, and that's through good sourcing, and that was the ask. And like I just don't think the Phillies thought that the Twins were being that serious. I mean, they had talks back and forth with them, it sounds like, but really, I mean, like Painter was the guy, and like they weren't going to trade Andrew Painter for Garrett Crochet last year. That was they drew the line there, and so they weren't going to be trading him for a closer this deadline. Like, simple as that. And just so happens that he did have another good start at AAA during the day Wednesday. He's now got back-to-back starts of at least 6 innings. Through fewer fastballs. I think he's challenging himself. It does seem like he has maybe turned a corner down there, and I do think he will be in play in August. Still July-ish, right?
Yeah.
And I think during the day, as the Twins started to be a little more serious about moving Duran, they had I think they thought they had a shot. But even when they made their last offer, they didn't think they had the best offer. And they might not have had the best offer. I know the Seattle Mariners made a competitive offer, and I think the offer was for Duran plus. I'm not so sure who else would have been in the deal, but the Twins do have other pieces they're going to trade. But I think I don't think the Phillies thought they had the best offer necessarily. Like, I think they thought it was what they had put a pretty good foot forward, right? I mean, a top 100 prospect, and then in Tait, and then Abel, a guy who's fringe top 100, like probably not a top 100 guy. I mean, some people might have him there. I think most orgs wouldn't, but a good prospect nonetheless,
and a major leaguer right now.
Right, and apparently he's going to AAA.
Okay.
Dan Hayes, our Twins writer at The Athletic, he reported that. But there is an aspect of this, Paul, that I do think is important, and that is Derek Falvey, I don't know what his title is with the Twins. He's the head of their baseball operations with the Twins. He took the best offers shortly before 5 o'clock Central Time today, and he went to ownership with that, right?
Okay.
Twins ownership, which is in a state of change. Like, they are going to be sold. I don't think they've been purchased yet, but they're on their way out. But still, they're running the show here, and I think Falvey presents the offers, and ownership helps steer toward what they want. And I think the fact that Mick Abel is major league ready and will pitch in the majors for the Twins this season might have helped the Phillies get to the finish line, because ownership is taking a big PR hit, and the Twins are taking a big PR hit by trading Durant, a very popular player in Minnesota, a homegrown player, a guy with this exciting closer entrance, music and song, and we'll see what happens when he comes to Philadelphia, but it's pretty cool, like, online. And they're going to take a hit, but I mean, I think it sounds like, from the ownership perspective, the fact that they were getting, good catching prospect, and also a guy in Abel who's going to pitch for them, this year, that would maybe lessen the hit that they're going to take with their fan base. That might help the Phillies win the offer, win the bid.
It's certainly not something to hand wave, because for as up and down as Abel's cameo was this year, in his last couple of starts with the Phillies, his final 2 starts with the Phillies were in losses against good National League teams, where he struggled with his command, walked 5 in his last start against the Padres before being sent down. This was back in the beginning of July. The fact that he was able to, and this has been a story really throughout this year, the fact that he was able to recover and rebound from what was a really, really difficult 2024 to put him in this position, not only to debut and do pretty well for a number of his starts. His overall line with the Phillies will have an ERA just over 5, and that, you never like that. But he had that impressive debut against Pittsburgh. He sprinkled in some other quality outings along the way, and that really didn't seem like it was going to be possible at this time last year.
No, I mean, they really benefited from him taking real strides, and really taking the struggles of last season and figuring it out. And credit to Abel, also credit to the organization for coming up with some things. But I mean, that was a big deal, because it helped them get Jhoan Duran.
Yeah. And Eduardo Tait, for his part, years away from the major leagues, but very intriguing. Looks like a bat that's going to carry, 30 homer potential roughly give or take, maybe give as he matures. There's some thought that he may end up making it work as a catcher behind home plate. Defense needs a little bit of work, but if that bat can stick at catcher, that is, that's an enticing thing for the Twins to take on. And you can certainly see why they would take that chance. Tait is something of a lottery ticket in that regard. He hits the ball really hard.
When you do these, this is what front office do, the exercise. It's like, okay, you want tell me who these guys are, but it's like, also give me the best case scenario for this player and give me the most likely scenario for this player. Mm-hmm. So the best case scenario for Mick Abel is, to me, like a mid-rotation guy, a number 3 starter in the major leagues. Very valuable piece. The best case scenario for Eduardo Tait for me is a 20 to 25 home run bat first catcher who gives you offense at a premium position. There's not a lot of offense at catcher, and the catching position is pretty weak, but probably is going to be a bat first guy, even if he gets when he gets to the majors. Those are best case scenarios to me, I think. Maybe Tait's an all-star, best case scenario a couple times. Likeliest scenario, I think there's a lot of people who I'll just say this, there are a lot of people who I trust from other organizations who scout the Phillies, who know the Philly system in and out, who are really skeptical about Tait sticking behind the plate. And it's a concern. I mean, he's a big kid. He's 18. He doesn't turn 19 till August. He's really raw behind the plate. He needs time. And the Twins are going to give him time, and they will, exhaust every second they can to, see if he can stick as a catcher. But the bat is real. Scouts love the bat. Evaluators really, 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 really like the way this kid hits. They liked it from the day he stepped in the United States last year. Philly signed him for $90,000, and it was good scouting. It was really good scouting. Abel, probably like a 5th starter in the majors. Like, that's the likeliest outcome, I think. Maybe a reliever, maybe a setup reliever in the majors. But you start doing that, you game it out, and the fact that Abel was semi-blocked in the current rotation picture, not just the current rotation picture, but also the rotation picture for next season. Mm-hmm. And Tait is years away. Like, it makes sense. I mean, this was a very sensible trade, I think. And I'm saying that even acknowledging that they gave up a lot. They gave a lot to get this guy, but they got a lot back. I mean, I think they did well. I do. I really do. And I've acknowledged that I have some concerns about Duran and some of these trends. I think they did well. I do.
So now, in the wake of this, Mick Abel is one of the major league starting options that has been removed from the picture for the Phillies. The Phillies bullpen looks something like this. We have Duran, who we assume will take 9th inning closer-ish duties, much in the way that we've seen, Greg Kimbrell, I don't want to say that name too loud, in the past, come in and take those opportunities, with Ryan Kirkering, Matt Strahm, and Tanner Banks making up the next 3 behind him. Jordan Romano, for the moment, is still around. And then we have a parade of optionable guys who will have to help soak up a couple of innings if the Phillies are in fact done with bullpen moves for the moment. We're talking about Max Lazar, who was hit around today in Chicago, as was Seth Johnson, Daniel Robert, Alan Ronhell. One of those last 4 will be, you would assume, optioned to make room for.
And then next week at some point, David Robertson will join them. Mm-hmm. It's been okay at AAA, not a lot of swing and miss. Velocity is still kind of getting there. But this is how I think they see it shaking out. Is that Duran is at the back. He's the 9th inning guy. He's the closer with a C, capital C. Strahm and Kirkering are the main setup guys, 7th and 8th inning for those guys. Interchangeable depending on the matchups in the 7th or the 8th. Robertson kind of in the middle there, right? Guys on base need a strikeout. I think they would go to him. I think they'd feel comfortable with him there. Banks, middle, for lefty pockets. Romano, I don't know where he fits. I don't know. I guess he's like similar in the Robertson role. I mean, like I'd be lying if I said I didn't think that Romano's bullpen spot later in August is in jeopardy. It might be. I'm not sure. Alvarado will be back in the middle of the month, and he will get some important spots, I think. He begins a rehab assignment this next week. He gets 15 days. So we'll start getting a little bit of, eyes and numbers on Alvarado, current Alvarado. But, Lazar, his horrible Wednesday outing notwithstanding, I think has earned a role in the post-deadline bullpen.
Yeah, I agree.
Joe Ross and Taijuan Walker, I don't really know where they fit. I don't know that Joe Ross is on the roster, after his injured list stint is up.
Yeah.
Same for Daniel Robert and Alan Ronhell. Those guys can be an option. They have a full 40-man roster, but they have plenty of candidates to be taken off the 40 right now who are not on the big league roster. So, I mean, they've improved the numbers a lot, right? And so now, Paul, I think you start thinking about October and it's jumping way ahead.
Always.
But I mean, remember we talk about how, October baseball is different, and you kind of take your 9 or 10 best, right?
Mm-hmm,
And you stack them and you use them that way. You're really you're hoping you're only using about 9 guys, right? 3 to 4 starters and your 5 to 6 best relievers.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting exercise now, right? With how you number them. I don't know, you want to do this off the top of your head real quick?
Yeah,
I mean,
let's do it.
Okay, so let's say, you have Wheeler and Sanchez as your 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Your third best guy now is probably Duran. Your fourth best guy is
I'd say Kirkering, the Kirkering of late.
Kirkering, and then your fifth best guy is
Ranger
Suarez.
Yeah.
It's probably your game 3 guy right now.
Mm-hmm.
Sixth best, Strom. Seventh best,
Nola.
Nola.
I would put Nola there.
Who will pitch? He's pitching Thursday, about 60 pitches at
Well,
AAA.
although actually, the big wild card is Luzardo. And what
that's what I was going to get to. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Go ahead. Take it away. What he's
going to be a reliever, I think.
Yeah, but
he's
when?
going to be a reliever, and I don't know when. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I think that's the big question here. And then where does Painter fit in all this? I mean, Painter's had 2 really good ones in a row, and I think that we're getting closer to yeah. I mean, I think we're getting closer to Painter being in the major leagues, and so the Luzardo thing, I think he is the great wild card here. He is.
So that's a lot of names for a finite number of spots.
A lot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is and everyone's like, well, they need one more guy. I was like, I don't know that they need one more guy because they do get Alvarado for 6 weeks. And I know we don't know what he's going to be. And then once you get to October, you do thin things a little bit and you won't have him, but you are able to move a starter or 2 into your bullpen. And now you when you're ranking those 9 to 10 guys, I mean, if we're talking about Luzardo being the 7th or 8th guy, Nola being the 7th or 8th guy, we haven't even gotten, I mean, and Banks is whatever, but Banks is your 9th or 10th guy, Robertson as your 9th or 10th guy. That's not bad. That's not bad.
It's really shored up.
It's better, right? It's not perfect, but I think it's clearly better. And this is a team that is going to lean on its pitching. We know that. And I think once you start thinking about it in this way, it is a competitive, deep, intriguing group.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Pacifico is a Mexican lager brewed to be discovered. It's like fresh tracks on a powder day. Like that uncharted trail a stone's throw away. Like the perfect wave on a sunny day. Pacifico, find your own way. 21 plus, drink responsibly. Imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois.
For over 150 years, oil and natural gas have been essential to our country's economy, security, and future. The oil and gas industry supports 11 million U.S. jobs and powers transportation, technology, and the products of modern life, from sneakers to cell phones to medical devices and so much more. People rely on oil and gas and on Energy Transfer to safely deliver it through an underground system of pipelines across the country. Learn more at energytransfer.com.
Are you ready to get spicy?
These Doritos Golden Sriracha aren't that spicy.
Sriracha? Sounds pretty spicy to me.
A little spicy, but also tangy and sweet.
Maybe it's time to turn up the heat.
Or turn it down. It's time for something that's not too spicy. Try Doritos Golden Sriracha.
Spicy.
But not too spicy.
And so let's think ahead for just a second here now, because the deadline has not passed. We still have Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern is when things will actually
It's
wrap
not
up.
over yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I figure on the pitching side, maybe it's done. There isn't a whole lot of maneuvering left to do there. We just mentioned all the reinforcements that could come. There are a lot of names there all of a sudden for this finite number of spots. But what is still yet to be addressed, and what I thought for a split second might have been addressed when during the 3.5-hour rain delay, Max Kepler was scratched from the starting lineup with tricep soreness, but nothing came of that yet, at least.
Hurt in the cage.
Yeah, we've been talking about his status for a little while now, but the offensive side of things probably still needs some attention. The Phillies did not deal any of their top chips. They probably still won't, but they have other things in the hopper, other interesting players, maybe not quite as powerful, maybe not of the caliber that could.
No, but if you're looking for like a rental
yeah.
role hitter, right? Yeah, I do not think. I would be surprised if Kwan gets traded. 1, 2. I think they're shopping in a much lower tier if they're adding a bat here.
So no Kwan, no Eugenio Suarez, nobody at the top of the market.
I don't think so. I don't. And if they don't land anyone, I do think that you would see Justin Crawford in the majors very soon.
Yeah. And so then that's the wild card, right? Like, is there any chance Crawford is moved for somebody between, now and 6 p.m. Thursday?
I don't think so.
Okay. So then
I think they've tried to hold him and Miller out of talks, period.
Oh, okay.
And I think they were trying to hold them at, not untouchable, but I think they were, preferring not to have to use those guys for Duran. And now, again, if you're shopping in a rental bat tier, maybe a complimentary outfield bat or something, your prospect capital is much lower here.
Yeah. So are there any particular names that we should be paying attention to tomorrow, or just the broad outfield market writ large rental, just something that would not cost a lot to bring in? We're looking only at supplementary players here.
Yeah. I mean, Harrison Bader is a guy to keep an eye on. But yeah, I don't think they're looking to move a lot of pieces around. I don't, this Eugenio Suarez thing, the price has been pretty high. And I think that, you've seen other teams go make moves. Other teams that have more of a need on the infield have made different moves, because I think they thought the Suarez price was too high. I think he ends up in Seattle.
Okay. And the Phillies, for their part, have Alec Boehm, whose return is on the horizon to resume at third base.
Doing a little bit of swinging, some tee work, and he's still sore, but I think he's trending toward a return in 2 to 3 weeks. I think it's going well.
Okay, so we have Boehm, Nola, David Robertson set to come up from the bullpen. We have Duran, who's going to arrive here. We have Painter, whose debut is still expected this year and who's, had a couple of better starts at AAA his last couple turns. There's a lot going on here.
Mid-August. Who I know, again, will not be an October factor, but can be a September factor.
Yeah, right. Alvarado in there. Yeah, well, the Phillies are going to have to keep winning games to secure their playoff spot, so every little bit will help. And Alvarado, assuming, he's still in, game
Are the
condition.
National League playoffs set?
It's entirely possible. I mean, you look at what the Mets did. I feel like the Mets probably could make a move for a starter, but maybe they like the guys who would come back from injury there. I don't know.
I'm just saying, I'm saying in terms of the field.
The
Padres are the 6th seed right now, and they're 3 up on the Reds.
I was going down the list here. Yeah, the Reds are trying to buy No, that's okay. I was going to waste breath and time. The Reds are trying sort of by adding Brian Hayes. They are apparently in the midst of some kind of 3-team deal as we record this that is yet to be resolved or fully revealed. They got
Zach Littell.
Yeah, there you go. Zach Littell, who started tonight for the Rays against the Yankees in New York. The Red Sox just picked up Steven Matz as we were recording a couple of minutes ago, which is interesting.
The Reds will put Littell in the rotation. They'll move Nick Martinez to the bullpen.
Another interesting move, because Martinez has been very good for them in their rotation. Was good again tonight. Well, maybe very good as a stretch.
But anyway, I mean, the Reds are 3 out of the last spot, and behind them are the Cardinals, who just are trading away everybody who are clearly, not, they know they're not a playoff team.
Yeah.
And then the free falling Giants. So, I mean, outside of the 6 teams right now, the Brewers, Cubs, Dodgers, Mets, Phillies, Padres, it's kind of set, right? I mean, obviously the order is not set, and the divisions, there should be, should be 3, at least 3, probably 2, at least 2, probably 3 good divisional races here. These 6 teams, to me, I mean, this is it.
One thing that is catching my eye, and this is kind of getting off on a tangent here, but the Marlins traded Nick Fortes, but it doesn't seem like they're very close to trading Dane Myers or Sandy Alcantara or Edward Cabrera, anything like that.
The Dodgers didn't do anything yet, did they?
Not that I can recall off the top of my head as we're recording right now. There's still a lot of time. We still have
the Padres are going to do something wild. We know that.
Padres are trying to deal Dylan Cease for some other major league position player or something, I think is what they're asking for. There's still a lot happening.
Who had a better day today, the Mets or the Phillies?
I mean, look, I love Jhoan Duran. I do. I have loved him for years. I think he is one of the very best relief pitchers in the sport. And the Phillies did not overpay, in my estimation, to pick him up for 2.5 years. I have to love that. Now, they didn't make a move on the offensive side yet, which kind of leaves things open. I like adding Duran the way they did more than adding Ryan Helsley and Tyler Rogers like the Mets did. They're both good. They're both good pitchers, and I'm sure they'll cause the Phillies problems the next time the Phillies and Mets link up. But I like Duran more. And I still think the Phillies rotation is better. I don't know. I think the Phillies had a better.
The Phillies rotation is definitely better.
Yeah, the Phillies had a better Wednesday. They need to.
It's close. I think the Mets had a pretty good day.
They did. Hey, look, Ryan Helsley. I would have been happy with him as a rental to bring in. I know there were some of the names that were in that prospect package were, previously shiny prospects for the Mets, but they had lost some luster.
No, that's the Rogers one.
Oh, the Rogers. Excuse me. That's right. When they gave up Blade Tidwell and Drew Gilbert and Jose Buto, who is not having as good a year as I realized. They're good players. They are. They're good players, and they'll help. The Mets have an interesting bullpen. It's a very good bullpen. Having Helsley and Edwin Diaz in the same bullpen is worth noting.
Can they get it to those guys?
Exactly. The rotation is still a big question. I would love to see the Phillies get some kind of bat on Thursday.
Are you going to be upset when the Mets trade for Luis Robert Jr.?
No, I'm sort of expecting that one at this point. I am. I would like the Tigers to swoop in and get him. I feel like he'd be a great fit in Detroit.
The Tigers traded for Rafael Montero. What are the Tigers doing?
I don't know what the Tigers are doing. That's the thing. They frustrate me.
Chris Paddock and Rafael Montero.
They're doing the Baltimore thing where they're not doing enough. They're not doing enough. This is a good team with interesting players who are clearly going to run away with the division into the playoffs. And center field has been a black hole for them. It's been arguably worse than it's been for the Phillies. And Luis Robert is just kind of out there. You don't have to pick up his options. Like,
What do you want the Phillies to do tomorrow? Today? Almost today. What do you want to see them? What do you want? I can't even talk.
It's late. We're almost done. It's almost midnight Eastern. I want Willie Castro.
Where does he fit? What does he do?
He plays everywhere. He can play third base. He can play left field. He mashes lefties. Switch hitter when you need it. He's a rental. He's younger, but he's a rental. Makes sense to me. What do you think they do? What is the bucket you see them going for? Are we talking more Ramon Laureano with the extra option year?
No, I don't think like Ramon Laureano is going to get traded.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, I've been so blinders up with the bullpen stuff because that was and has been their priority, and they got it done. I don't know. Does Cedric Mullins do anything for you?
I think either Mullins or Robert represents something of an upgrade over the current center field situation. But also, I think a lot of it also, like, what do you do with Kepler? Like, what is the Kepler resolution here? Is it just a straight cut?
It's a DFA. Yeah.
It's just the DFA and cut. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you bring up Crawford.
If you get somebody.
Yeah.
Well, if you get somebody, then maybe you're not bringing up Crawford. And maybe you keep Kepler. I doubt it.
So the only one of the three offseason acquisitions who's likely to make it deeper into August on the roster is Joe Ross by way of being on the injured list.
Well, I think Romano is going to...
Do you think he makes it? You think he survives?
For now, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Is he the guy who goes out when Robertson arrives?
Maybe. Or when Alvarado arrives.
Okay. All right.
Because you do need you need some guys who can pitch 2 innings in your bullpen in like losing situations.
Yes.
And if you count, you have Duran, Kerkering, Strom, Robertson. That's 4. Banks, 5.
Yeah, they're all 1 inning guys. I feel like Lazar can do the multi-inning thing though.
Right, Lazar slides down the depth chart a bit here. Yeah.
All right, but the general thing is they're not done. We can. It's not a guarantee, but we can look for them to make some kind of.
I like the Austin. I thought Austin Slater was a good fit.
Yeah, Slater going to the Yankees.
He went to the Yankees.
That he's a useful player. Plays all 3 outfield positions. That was a good pickup.
They might not do anything.
They might not do anything. You think they ride with the current? There's a decent chance they ride with the current offense.
I mean, like that. I think that's just.
Comes down to the superstars, right?
Yeah, and I just think that I don't know that there's a, how meaningful of an upgrade can they get without, having to move everybody around. I mean, I think they would like to avoid that. I think they'd like to avoid moving everybody around.
Okay,
I do.
All right, so there we go. We have about 18 hours as we finish recording here. 18 hours left before the trade deadline at 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. That's Thursday. Well, it's only tomorrow for 3 more minutes. The Phillies have made their big move, presumably, of this deadline by picking up Jhoan Duran, who is excellent and who I love, and I'm very excited to see pitch for the Phillies for the next couple of years. Really geeked out about that. I'm very happy that Mick Abel gets a chance to do his thing in Minnesota. I hope he goes out and shoves. Interested to see how Eduardo Tait develops out there, but I am juiced to get somebody of Duran's caliber out here in this bullpen and hopefully doing his thing. We'll see how it goes. It's nice to not have a rental and nice to hopefully not have to worry about this for a couple off seasons. The best laid plans and all of that, but we'll and there we go. As we're wrapping up the Mariners R&D getting.
Hey, I nailed it.
There you go.
At least it was on the fucking. Oh, excuse me. At least it's on. It's taped. It was taped.
So.
That was That was 10 minutes. I shot a few texts before we get on this pod.
There you go. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So you got that one, and we'll end on that high note because that you're about caught up out there, and we just added another.
I am so tired.
Get to sleep. Get like 4 hours or whatever.
We'll stream around the around the deadline tomorrow.
Yes, I'm planning to go live sometime between like 4 and 4:30 Eastern. We'll see how that goes. Deadline again at 6 o'clock. We'll chat. We'll do some reacts to things and do all that wonderful stuff. Okay, cool. Thank you everybody for tuning in here late at night or tomorrow morning, whenever you do. We'll talk to you again later on Thursday, closer to the deadline after Matt gets a cat nap and flies on back home. This has been Phillies Therapy, part of the Believe Podcast Network. For Matt, I am Paul, and we'll talk to you again soon.
At Capella University, we believe accessible education can make a difference. That's why we offer scholarship opportunities to all eligible students. Un futuro diferente está más cerca de lo que crees con Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.